How did Russell Wilson talk about the Broncos in his first press conference as a Steelers? Welcome into your Denver Sports Daily for March 18th. Let's go.
Taking you through your morning headlines, it's Denver Sports Daily with Rachel V. Hill.
Before we get into the press conference, we have to talk about the big news that dropped with the Bears finally finding a trade partner for Justin Fields, shipping the quarterback to the Steelers to be Russell Wilson's backup. In exchange, the Bears get a 6th-round pick that will become a 4th-rounder if Fields plays more than 51% of the snaps next season. Right now, they are saying that Justin Fields will be the backup for Russell Wilson, who obviously signed with the Steelers last week. This is really interesting to me because I'm not exactly sure why, if Russell Wilson is 100% going to be your starter, you bring in somebody like Justin Fields. Maybe because you got him on such a cheap deal, and we all need to be applauding the Steelers for how they've handled this offseason and bringing in both Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. But it's definitely a little bit of an interesting mix. So Fields replaces Kenny Pickett, who a lot of us were thinking, okay, maybe that's going to be a little bit of a battle right there. And it makes more sense for Russell Wilson to be the starter and Kenny Pickett to be the backup. But Kenny Pickett gets traded to the Eagles. So now it's most certain that the Bears will be going after a quarterback with that number 1 pick, which everyone is assuming is going to be Caleb Williams. That's not surprising. This again is just so interesting at how they're going to do this. And with the way they're talking about it, I wonder if they're saying he's going to be the backup right now to Russell Wilson because of the trade value that you have with that 6 that could possibly be turned into a 4th-round pick. I'm not exactly sure what this is going to look like come the end of the season, but I'm definitely invested. And I was joking with everybody. I'm like, I need this to be Hard Knocks. Please let this be Hard Knocks. I don't think it can. I think they've already done it, or there's something. I know the Broncos are in the talks of a one team that needs to be able to do it, but I need a day-by-day brief when it comes down to this. And everybody that's over the Russell Wilson talk, I get it. Trust me. I was done talking about him with the Broncos too, but this is like a whole new chapter of Russell Wilson that I am, in fact, very much in here for. But what did Russ have to say about the Denver Broncos? If you were wanting them to throw him under the bus, or for him to throw them under the bus, it did not happen. He goes on to say, I think it's all about how you look at it. In life, a lot of times when things don't go your way, you can look at it as disappointing, or you can look at it as growth moments. For me, my first year in Denver, I had my lat. I was playing on it, pushing through it. Should I have done that? You compete every day. You got to do what you got to do. Everything didn't go our way. This past year, I felt like myself again. So he obviously very emphasized that. I can't wait to just put on the cleats and go after it. Seems like Russell Wilson also has a new sign-off statement. Obviously, here in Broncos country, it was "Let's ride," and the entire world began to mock "Let's ride," and it looks like it might be "Here we go." So based off the popular slogan, "Here we go Steelers, here we go," that people tend to say at the team's games, he says, "I've got 5 to 7 years of the best football left on me, and it matters which team you marry up with." Agreed with that. And I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. But also, he's still looking at playing for quite a few more years. The timeline would take Russell Wilson to the other side of his 40th birthday. And the 13-year veteran who turned 35 in November said it was 10 to 12 years down the road when he discussed when he came to the Broncos. So obviously going back and now saying that he's got just a little bit left on that. It's just a slightly off. 5 to 7 years. It's just slightly off from that 10 to 12. But hey, he did eat up 2 years of that already. So interesting enough, Russell Wilson, the talk will continue. If you guys are totally over the Russell Wilson stuff, I want to know what you want to know. So, of course, let me know in the comments. Say, I'm done with Russell Wilson. Stop talking about him. Or say, hey, I just want to keep up with him a little bit. Give me the dirty details that I need to know. Broncos, they did add somebody new to their draft class, which was Cody Barton. So he came 1 year after Josie Jewell, and a lot of people are kind of getting to be a little bit excited about this. Josie Jewell was going to cost the Broncos a pretty penny. Now, Barton, he's not going to be that expensive. They agreed to a 1-year deal with Barton, who broke into the NFL as a 3rd-round pick to the Seattle Seahawks in 2019. It's a deal worth up to $4 million, according to Channel 9's Mike Kliss. Now, he played for the Washington Commanders last year, and he led in total tackles, even though he missed 4 games. So definitely someone who can put production on the field when he's out there. It was his first and only season with the Commanders after 4 seasons in Seattle. I'm kind of excited to see what Cody Barton's going to look like. Again, Josie Jewell, he was kind of critiqued a lot for getting a lot of tackles like later on down the field. And I'm going to be interested to see how Cody Barton is kind of intertwined in this defense now and if they're able to get a lot of stops closer up to the line of scrimmage. I think he's going to be a fun name to watch a training camp in here in just a couple of months. Now, of course, the quarterbacks continue to dwindle and to dwindle and to dwindle. So Sean Payton must have his guy, and the Rams are signing former Raiders and 49ers quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo. Remember, though, the NFL suspended Garoppolo 2 games for violating the league's performance-enhancing drugs policy. So Sam Howell off the board, Mason Rudolph, Sam Darnold, Jacoby Brissett, Drew Lock, Kirk Cousins, and now Jimmy G all off the board. And so it's what are the Broncos going to do at quarterback? It does seem like they're going to be going high in the draft, trading up to try and get a rookie QB. But also, you can't forget Jared Stidham here in Denver already. And who will get the start week 1? That's what I want to know. James Marilette and I are going to talk about it on Coffee Break later today. Are you totally okay with buying into the rookie QB, or do you want to see somebody go underneath Jared Stidham as a backup and see what that will look like? Plus, what would the Broncos be willing to give up? Can they move into the first pick? Probably not, considering that Chicago, of course, has traded away everything. But could they move into the second or third? Cecil Lammey sure does think so. So plenty of good stuff right there. I'm excited for that conversation because, yeah, you guys, they're moving up. The Broncos are going to go get their QB, whoever it is. They're going to go get them. But speaking of like draft classes, let's look ahead to next year because many gurus think that Deion Sanders will be the top pick in the 2025 NFL draft. But if Deion Sanders, his dad, gets his way, the city selecting first overall will be one without snow. Deion appeared on SiriusXM's Mad Dog Radio, where he talked about the fellow Pac-12 quarterback, Caleb Williams, who's likely going number 1 to the Chicago Bears. And Coach Prime pivoted to talk about how the Windy City could impact the USC star, which, of course, it could. Absolutely. Weather can play impact to anybody. But he goes on to talk about Shedeur and says, I don't want my kid going nowhere cold next year. He grew up in Texas. He played in Jackson, played in Colorado. Season's over before it gets cold in Colorado, which I do have to say, are definitely our milder winter months are early on. So I get that. And he goes, I'm just thinking ahead. I don't want that for him, which, to be honest, I kind of get. You want your kid to succeed. But hey, if you're going to Minnesota and you're playing in a dome or something of that nature, then it should be totally fine. But also, if you're going number 1 overall, who knows where you end up landing. But I feel like you should just be happy overall, regardless of where you're going to play, which I'm sure Shedeur would. But Deion, he's just looking out for his kids as always. Speaking of the Buffs, oh man, oh man, oh man. So many Buffs fans that I know were so excited when the Buffs were going into the Pac-12 tournament championship on Saturday. They end up falling. However, they did still get a bid to the NCAA tournament. So that sends Tad Boyle's crew to Dayton, Ohio for the first 4. Well, they will face Boise State on Wednesday at 7:10 Mountain Time on True TV to earn the number 10 seed in the South region and a matchup against 7th seed Florida on Friday at 2:30. If the Buffs had beaten Oregon for the Pac-12 title, they would have avoided the first 4 in Dayton regardless. Now, moving on to CSU, we're going north up to Fort Collins. This one is also interesting because the men's basketball team is back in the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2022, but not a lot of people thought that they were going to be playing in the first 4. The Rams will be the number 10 seed in the Midwest region, facing Virginia in a play-in game. The game will be played in Dayton on Tuesday night with a time that I believe is at 9 o'clock. I'm not sure if it's Mountain or Eastern, so double check that time because it's blanking me right now. But if they win, they'll face number 7 Texas in the round of 64 in Charlotte on Thursday. Very short turnaround if you are obviously a Rams or a Buffs fan to try and get out there to Dayton. Because, yeah, you're pretty much booking tickets now to try and get out there for tomorrow night. The Rams lost to New Mexico 74-61 on Friday night in the semifinals. But they did have wins over Creighton, Colorado, and Washington during the non-conference schedule. And they also went 10-8 during regular season conference play. And they beat San Jose State and Nevada, who was the number 2 seed in the conference tournament in Las Vegas last week. So if we look back just a little bit in 2022, the Rams lost to Michigan in round 1 of the NCAA tournament by a score of 75-63. I remember that game. I was so excited for that game, but man, they got such a bad draw because they obviously were playing against Michigan in Michigan. But their last win in March Madness came in 2013 against Missouri. But what about all the Mountain West teams? How did they fare when it came to the selection from all the bracketology stuff? Nico Medved, the head coach for CSU, commented on it. Take a listen.
Listen, one of the hardest things to do in our sport is get an opportunity to earn an at-large into the NCAA tournament. So getting to do that is just incredible for these young people. And we talk about it at the beginning of the year, what a small percentage of teams gets to do that. And so to be in this moment and have an opportunity to earn an at-large is just really awesome for us, for the program, and we're excited about the opportunity.
A little surprised you were the last team in?
Yeah, to be honest, I was really surprised how most of the Mountain West was seeded. I'm not the expert or the thing, but I think if you talk to the hundreds of people who do the bracketology, I think they really had all the Mountain West teams seeded higher than that. But you know what? That's fine. They always just respect our league, and now it's time to go out and try to do something about it.
Was there a level of
The Colorado women's team are dancing, but they won't be hosting an NCAA tournament game like a lot of people had originally thought. J.R. Payne's crew was just snubbed out of having the first 2 rounds in Boulder and will instead have to travel to Manhattan, Kansas. On Sunday, the NCAA revealed their brackets for the 2024 field, and head coach of the Buffs are the number 5 seed in the Albany 2 regional. So the Buffs will face the Missouri Valley champion Drake Bulldogs this weekend in the Octagon of Doom, with the winner taking on the winner of Kansas State against Portland. The Buffalo are in the dance for the 3rd straight season, though, which we should all applaud. And they went to the Sweet 16 last year after falling to Caitlin Clark's Iowa Hawkeyes. But it was a great showing, obviously, for the Buffaloes to be able to secure first 2 tournament wins in 20 years, beating Middle Tennessee and Duke. But if the Buffs can get to the Sweet 16 again, they'll likely face the number 1 seed Iowa yet again. The Denver Nuggets, they had 2 games over the weekend. They played at the Spurs on Friday night and then at the Mavs on Sunday. Versus the Spurs, they made it to 5 straight road wins, which is 10 out of 11 games since the break. Their second 5-game road winning streak of the season, and they beat every team by double digits this time around. So it was plenty of good stuff right there. But then we have to look to the fact that they ended up losing to Dallas on Sunday. Now, the one thing about this is Kyrie had a buzzer beater, and I don't want everyone to come at me in the comments and be like, what? But it did kind of look like he was out of bounds on that final shot. Like, just a smidge, and I really can't wait for them to have the 2-minute report come out to see, was he in fact out of bounds? But at the end of the night, it doesn't matter. Like, they ended up losing the game, and it was a slow off night for both Joker and Jamal. Jamal missed a buzzer that could have put them up after a big 3 possession on the prior possession. And then MPJ was really, really hot in the first half, but then he slowed down in the second half. I don't know if they're tired, they're just done being on the road, but it definitely wasn't like the best showing for them. And to be honest, it doesn't really matter if they lose a game. Twitter freaking out. Michael Malone should be fired when they lose one game. Everybody take a big, deep breath, okay? In Malone, we trust to get them back to the NBA Finals. It's great that they have the winning road streak or whatever it was of 5 games on the road. That's wonderful. Happy to hear. But yeah, if they end up losing one game, it's totally fine. Just everybody take a big, deep breath. Now, the Avs. They go on, and we've talked plenty about them on the road and how they have been terrible. Nope, not anymore. All the pieces they have added are really starting to click with this team. They were at Edmonton. They end up winning 3-2 and have now won 6 in a row. McKinnon with a beautiful pass to himself and then a backhand to Arturi Lehkonen, who tapped it in to give them the overtime win. It was all over Twitter. Everyone was talking about it. SportsCenter had it. Obviously, the NHL had it. There were tons of videos. If you missed it over the weekend, please just go search McKinnon, and I promise you will see 100 different videos of this. It was absolutely beautiful. Sean Walker got his first goal in as an Av in Edmonton to make it 1-0. And then things got a little chippy. We saw a Josh Manson fight, which I always love a bunch when it gets a little chippy just like that. So we're happy. We're thrilled that the Avalanche were able to get a win like they did, because their losing streak on the road for quite a while was not good. And now that record on the road is way above 500, which we love to see. It's a good thing for the playoffs. You guys, the Colorado Rockies. I get more and more frustrated. I feel like sometimes the more and more I talk about them. They are looking to keep manager Bud Black in his role for their foreseeable future. Last time they gave him an extension, I was frustrated because it was like, okay, so we're not going anywhere new. But Dick Monfort is working on an extension for his longtime skipper, according to MLB.com. The two sides are quote unquote talking per the report, but neither commented on the specifics. Black is entering the final season of his current contract, and it seems as though there's some movement towards getting this deal done before opening day, which is later this month. Bud Black, 66 years old, is entering his 8th season at the helm in Colorado, where he's led the Rockies to a 476 to 556 record. It's not a winning record by any means, everybody, so I don't know why we're looking at an extension. Just makes you wonder what's going down there at Coors Field and the frustration that comes with it. But as we look ahead to the NBA playoffs, and things are obviously getting closer and closer, in the middle of April will be here before we know it, the Sixers are feeling good about Joel Embiid's progress after undergoing knee surgery. Head coach Nick Nurse said the team was happy with the progress and pretty confident Embiid would return to the court in time for the playoffs. He has been ruled out since January 30th with a torn meniscus. The Sixers have gone 8-13 without him in the lineup, dropping all the way from the number 3 seed to the number 8 seed. And then this is also a unique one for your Monday to add it, just to end it on. Isaiah Thomas is returning to the NBA after a 2-year absence. The 35-year-old signed a 10-day contract with the Suns over the weekend. Thomas, we all know he's a former All-Star, but he hasn't played in the league since 2022. He had averaged 32.5 points per game in the 4-game stint with the G League Salt Lake City Stars. I think that's so crazy. I feel like everybody remembers when Isaiah Thomas was this huge, big name, and now he was gone for 2 years, but he's back. And will he make a big enough impact? Maybe. A 10-day contract, you never know what you can do. But it does just kind of make me laugh right there for that Monday. So let's check out some of your guys' comments, because, of course, that's kind of my favorite part of the show, to be completely honest with you. This one is definitely about the Rockies. Need to sell the team to an owner who cares about winning. Yep. Boycott Rockies. Fans deserve better. I haven't watched since Arenado was dealt. Yep. The change the Rockies need isn't in the dugout. Exactly. It needs to be ownership, but the owners aren't going to be selling anytime soon. That's my guess, but it's definitely frustrating if you are a Rockies fan right here. Let's see. Nuggets will be fine. Absolutely, the Nuggets will be fine. Nikola Jokic, you have Jamal Murray, you have a hot MPJ right now. Definitely start rolling with him. See what he can do. Let's see. Any word on the Bulls/Jones contract? So we did get notice this morning. This came out literally moments before the show began. But essentially, Bulls' contract guarantees kicked in on Sunday. So my guess is that Garrett Bowles will be sticking with the team. I don't think that they would have let those contracts, the guarantees, stick around if they hadn't planned on having him out there for week 1 or whatever. Maybe if some other deal comes out that they could obviously trade him. But I think right now you're good to go on Bulls. I agree, Rachel. Shawnee P must have his guy. What if it is Stiddy, though? It's a possibility. Stidham could be the starter week 1, and they're going to roll with some quarterback coming out of the draft. But since we hadn't really heard about the Broncos being in conversation for really anybody, it really does make me think that they are about to just give up whatever they need to do to go get the quarterback that they want, which means the next couple of weeks, if you're a Broncos fan, is going to be really fun. Draft night could be a lot of fun because you can just kind of expect them to be moving up at this point. So I will not complain, because this is going to be a really, really fun draft for Broncos fans. Now, last one. Give me the dirty details. I will continue providing the dirty details on what the latest is with Russell Wilson. Of course, as we look ahead, once the season starts and things start to slow off, maybe we can pump the brakes a little bit. But if you guys want to keep hearing about Russell Wilson, we will continue to do that. A long show on this Monday. There was a ton to get into. So I appreciate you guys hanging out with us here. Like I said, Jen Marilat and I are going to be talking about Jared Stidham week 1. If he's the quarterback, how are you feeling about that? And which QB, if we had to guess right now, they're moving up to get? Because, I think they're going pretty high. It's going to be an interesting conversation. Come hang out with us 12 p.m. Mountain Time. And then if not, we'll see you right back here 10 a.m. for another episode of Denver Sports Daily. Get back to work, everybody. We'll see you later. Bye.